also spoke to Bruce Hamilton, who is the vice president of Amalgamated Transit Union.
Amalgamated Transit Union. The ATU is here to express the point of view that there is an alternative point of view in U.S. labor, and it's a point of view that really supports a real deal on climate that is enforceable and that actually reduces emissions.
What's your position on the Keystone XL?
The ATU was the first union to oppose the Keystone XL pipeline back in 2011, and since then some other unions have joined us, which is very good. The National Nurses Union, TWU, somewhat the CWA, and SEIU, a lot of locals, 1199, and a lot of other unions have come into the fight against further expansion of dirty oil.
And why?
Well, the primary reason is to save humanity on the planet. We also believe that labor has a responsibility to really lead the transition to a low carbon, to really a no carbon economy, because if we don't do that, then some kind of a transition is going to be made by big business, and it is going to be very detrimental to working people and poor people.
Talk about the kinds of workers you represent.
ATU represents most of the transit workers across North America. Bus drivers, train operators in transit, bus cleaners, and all sorts of people related to transit.
And so Keystone XL has always been pushed as a provider of jobs. Wouldn't that interest you? And how does that divide the union movement?
Far, far, far more jobs are available in fighting against climate change than there ever could possibly be in expanding dirty fuel. As a matter of fact, the biggest job killer really is inaction on climate change. So ATU also, it's a natural for us because we represent mass transit workers, and without a massive increase in mass transit, we can't possibly reduce emissions to a sustainable level.
And what would that look like, that mass infusion of funds into public transportation? Where does the U.S. stand in relation to the rest of the world on public transportation?
The U.S. is not in the top league, shall we put it, but there needs to be public transportation needs to be so available and so attractive an option that nobody would even think about driving their car to work. That is definitely possible. I live in New York City. In New York City, it's fairly easy to get around on public transit. I don't own a car, and certainly don't need one. But even in New York City, there needs to be a vast increase in what's available, where it's available, to make it so that nobody has to walk more than a few blocks to avail themselves of public transit. If that were the case, people would simply not want to drive.
The alternatives?
The alternatives to?
To cars?
The alternatives to cars are, well, bus rapid transit, which we see here in Lima. I don't know if you've noticed all the bus rapid transit that's available here. It needs a lot of improvement, but the infrastructure is there, and it's actual lanes that are dedicated totally to buses, and fares are paid on the platform so that buses pull up and multiple doors open, passengers get on very, very quickly, and the bus rolls on, not impeded by any traffic. It's a very quickly developed, not capital intensive, certainly not like subways or anything, but it's a very, very good way of getting people around. Some people in the United States have started sort of like down that road a little bit, but that hasn't progressed at all.
What's the country or countries that you look to as a model?
Well, there are all over. Latin America is really the leader in bus rapid transit, actually, although they need a lot of improvements in workers' rights, because it's very rare to find organized workers working in public transit in Latin America. So that's one reason why it's necessary for unions to get involved in this battle, to increase public transit, but also to make it so that the jobs in public transit are decent jobs that can actually provide a decent living for working people.
I asked Secretary Kerry about his position on Keystone XL. He wouldn't answer. Are you concerned about which way the Obama administration will go?
Yes, I'm concerned. It would just be, a lot of climate scientists say it really would be the end of the game if Keystone gets built, because it would mean a vast expansion of the tar sands in Alberta that would be brought for export out of the southern United States. And apart from all of the the dangers involved to farmers in Kansas and others, there's just a huge danger of putting more carbon in the atmosphere. We just can't be doing that.
That's